It was the second record.
Major Lazer being Diplo's trio.
Yes. But it was with Emmanuel de Baratel, who's he's the founder and the owner of a label called Because out of France. I'd met him once before because I had another client that produced a record for his label, and it was hilarious because he I don't know. I think that first meeting with Emmanuel, he kind of walked in his office. He had a sport coat. He just started smoking. Like, what do you want? Why are you here? and I was like, oh, okay, But I remember the second time I went to Paris, and I had, Emmanuel's label housed a lot of other labels, Ed Banger being one of them. I had said to him, I think I'm almost positive it was no more than 50 grand. And I was like, I will give you long-term license. I need 50 grand to help pay for some videos. And he was like, okay. And we basically just shook on it. I left. I was like, send it to this guy. They were like, you really want to do this? I was like, 100%. And it skyrocketed from there. Emmanuel, we had great partners.
It skyrocketed. The song skyrocketed in France.
Just the opportunity of reaching people around the world. We had great partners prior, and to their credit, the guy who released the first record's a guy named Josh Deutsch. He had founded a label called Downtown, and I kicked and screamed because there was a lot of stuff around a venture that they had with Interscope, and I didn't like the experience there at the time. And I ended up getting the rights back.
How do you get the rights back?
That's a good story. I went into their office and I knew I calculated some of our earnings and our advance on the second album. I got a cashier's check made from my bank account, and I went and said, I'm willing to buy it myself. And I passed over the cashier's check. And Terrence, who was his who was another guy there who did all the money, he was like, can I see this? And I was like, sure. And he was like, he was just shocked that I because I remember getting the cashier's check. We were in New York. Yeah. And the bank guy and the business manager, whoever gave it to me, was like, you can't lose this. Like, it's made out to cash.
So
it's all your money.
We're recording this in Australia, right? So
Right.
there's different, and we have people all over the world. Cashier's checks are what?
Cashier's checks are checks made out to cash.
Yes.
So if
it's as good as
cash. Anyone, if it's endorsed,
yeah,
anyone can cash it.
Yes.
And by the way, you could just write my name on the back and you could cash the check. So I was very serious. You can't walk in with cash. So, but they to their credit, they really understood. We made a deal, and I was able to find new partners for Major Lazer moving forward. And I'd always separated them too. I never did dual deals. On the recording side.
Did any label have both?
I don't know. As it went further, I don't know. But not to my no.
Okay.
No.
Didn't you piss people off that had Diplo and were doing a fantastic job, and they're like, we also want Major Lazer? I've been threatened to be thrown out of buildings from executives before when I've upset them. Like, I imagine that would be pretty upsetting.
We didn't really have a lot of dual stuff. Like, it was never really competing with one another. And Diplo, I always kind of not held back, but never did a deal with a label for Diplo because it wasn't, he as an individual didn't produce music in that structure. He was doing singles.
Yeah.
In large part, he was always
So they were
doing
all
singles.
short-term relationships anyway, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and he also had his label. So we just structured it in a way that he could house his own material.
And was that set up genuinely isolated, or was every
was
song?
intentional.
No, was every song like sub-licensed through a major or whatever? Like,
No, we didn't. We didn't work with a lot of majors. Again, we're talking about a period where streaming didn't exist.
Yeah.
We're talking iTunes and bootlegs and stuff. It wasn't, the CD was kind of over. Like, you would still buy a mix here, and cars still had CD players in them, but it was becoming less and less popular. There wasn't the vinyl explosion that there is today. Music was, for a period of time, essentially free. LimeWire, post Napster, you had LimeWire, you give away an MP3. Maybe we'd do email collection for a song, things like that. But to close the loop on the Emmanuel part, in working with him, what it did was it opened up the world to us in a way that hadn't been available before. He's based in Paris. He understood the mechanism of radio, not only in France, but this is something I learned with working with him. But oh yeah, in Belgium they speak Flemish and French, so like they're prone to work with French language stuff, French speaking artists, companies, etc. And then he taught us and educated us really on how to conquer Europe. This is all you're talking about. The guy who signed Daft Punk, so he's not stupid.
Yeah.
Really brilliant guy.
Yeah.
And he has unbelievable taste. Like his office is in Margiela's old work studio in Paris. It's just it's really beautiful. It's really nice to be around. And he also worked with, I don't think a lot of people know this about him, but he put out a Prince album. I think he put out 2 Prince albums.
Wow.
Like he does a lot of French hip hop. So he has France is a kind of a kingdom, right?
Yeah.
But he more to the point is he really did open us up to the world, and he was able to translate us onto the radio, which we weren't able to really get a hold of beforehand. And
In France.
And even in the UK, like we had specialist play and stuff like
Yeah.
that. He was really able to transition us into daytime airplay.
Was there a lot of payola culture then?
If there was, I wasn't participating in it. I mean,
Because the labels were dealing with it.
yeah, I mean, I think payola never really went away. It just kind of got. Then you called it. You changed the name or something.
Yeah.
It was more about like, he would get before on the. This is the second Major Lazer album. And sorry if I'm talking in pieces.
Yeah.
But we had always had BBC specialists, but we never got like A-list BBC. And when he came along, he was able to have a dialogue with programmers everywhere and bridge the gap between whatever was perceived about his music and beforehand and then today and then at that point. So he was able to transition it. And then he was remarkable at taking it beyond BBC airplay and getting it into the national radio, like the national commercial radio stations, which really opened up an enormous thing for us. I mean, maybe I don't know if this is impressive now or not, but Major Lazer was the first act to stream 1 billion on Spotify. So, and I think that happens. 1 billion streams happens a little bit more than it was when we did it.
Not every day.
Not every day, sure. But it seems to be more, and at that point in time,
You couldn't get away from Major Lazer. Like they were everywhere.